And um, a an in-depth look at the Chonwan Gong and leading up to it, and exploring the architecture in the Chonwan Gong, and it's quite very well done, and it's by Damien as well. So it's 24 minutes. So my brother, my elder brother, he's from London, but he knows our church and he knows a little bit about our church. And of course, when we meet up, sometimes he'd ask me questions, what's going on, especially when Mr. Abe had been assassinated. He was asking many questions that time. He's the only one at the moment that still asks me questions, and he's my older brother. And I think the reason is because we kind of grew up quite close, like he was just a year older than I was, and so we feel kind of close. The thing is, he received it. He hasn't commented on it. I had to say to him, look, I couldn't find anything that doesn't have that's just architectural, because this building is suffused with spirituality and a religious dimension to the building. So I can't give you something that's just says, oh yeah, look at this. This is how it was built and so forth. But anyway, I'm glad in a way that I could do that. It's a very small thing. What I want to say is my experience in Korea is very humbling in comparison to this. So I feel that everybody's experience is quite unique if you go to Korea, and especially go to this. So I would see it more as like my pilgrimage to Korea. It's like my one in a lifetime pilgrimage to the Holy Land of Korea. And it's like, Muslims, they go on their Hajj maybe once in a lifetime. Every Muslim, I'm not quite sure which side of Muslim, but they have their Hajj, which is amazing. Thousands and hundreds of thousands of people will go there at least every year. And at least once in your lifetime, you need to go to the Hajj, which is their pilgrimage place. I'm not sure where it is, probably Saudi Arabia, but Mecca is the Mecca. Now, in a way that when you go to Cheongpyeong, you go to this feeling of this is our Mecca, or it's our spiritual home. But to be honest, when I go to Korea, I go to Cheongpyeong, and I don't go often enough, but I feel the whole place is our, Cheongpyeong, the views and the mountains and the whole experience is spiritually uplifting. And I felt it more so this time, than maybe previously. The only one thing I do regret is my experience is so short and I missed so many things. So that I knew I should stay longer, but I couldn't make up my mind this time. And I just felt, oh, you really need to spend time here. Everything to do with going there and even experiencing the Chunwon Gong itself is too short, because I missed things even there. And I'm just going to show you some slides as an overview of my experience, and maybe I'll comment on a few things as I go along. A lot of my pictures are of myself, because that just shows you I didn't have so many people around me. Yeah, you can see there the background is the beautiful temple in the background over there. And as I said, this was one of the beautiful days in Cheongpyeong, so I was going up to the holy grounds, I think, at that point. And the only way I could get it, I was thinking I'd take a picture of myself. So the best thing I did was, I saw somebody, they needed to take a picture taken. So I offered, can I take a picture of you there? You needed me to take a picture. So that gave me an opening to say, do you mind taking one of me as well? On to the next one. And there again, you see that's so magnificent. The mountains and the lakes in the background. Now it's springtime. At that time it was springtime, and so some of the days were quite spring-like, and this was one of the days. It wasn't fully spring, as you know, and but it was very, very beautiful. I would always recommend go to Cheongpyeong in the springtime or the autumn. I've been to Cheongpyeong in the winter a few times. It's a bit dour in the winter, it's tough going. I went to a few meetings, and it was in the winter. It's good in a sense. You go in the snow whenever the snow covers everything, and it's still very good. But I feel like that Chungpyeong is like a tourist destination, a spiritual tourist destination, a bit like if you were to go to the Vatican. You know, people go there for a spiritual purpose. They also go for like for the education, or for the the tourist. Spiritual tourism is actually very, that man mentioned it there, Bishop Nandanga. We need to, what's the word, promote this as a spiritual tourism destination. And I really think it's magnificent for that purpose, In the future, I think this will be such a thing that we'll be proud of, in that sense. Should we go on to the next one? That's not different. So keep going. Oh yeah, I want to show you. If you go into the Chonbo couples, into that place, they show you the meaning of the one chair. I thought I'd show you that because a lot of people think, why do we have only one chair? And there's something there which I can't really read now. But it was basically after, of course, mother. Can you read it? Anybody? The Father, to Father and Spirit will, and to Mother can. Ah, lovely. To Mother the Spirit, to Father and Spirit will, and to Mother on earth are not two, but one, having oneness in heart, oneness in body, oneness in thought, and oneness in harmony. So they need only one chair. True Mother has been using chairs like this. One, as she works without ceasing, holding important events, working towards the secure settlement of Chonaguk. This chair has therefore become a symbol of the Chonaguk providence. Yeah, I just thought that was interesting. It's there in the kind of museum even, So it's a reflection of that. Can we go on then to the next one, please? I just spent some time now. This is not in chronological order, so it's kind of like I'm kind of skipping a little bit here. I went to this on the day that I actually went to the Chonwon-gong, which I will go back to later on to talk a little bit. And this is the bird begonia park. And that day it was raining so much, so I wanted to find some place to go because it was raining. And the people were going into the Heaven Burger, but it was very busy. And I remember I was with Tinko at one stage, and we decided, oh no, we're not going to. Although he wanted to go in and check to see how big it was, and he realized it's quite big. But then he wanted to go back to the Chungpyeong. And what do you think of that? It is quite fascinating. And you know something? I thought that all the flowers were real. Well, I discovered that they're not all real. I was disappointed. I think that's the only picture. But some of these, no, look at that. Some of those hanging down flowers, they are not real. And I was so disappointed to find they're not real. And because I have a habit of going, smelling flowers, and I went up close to them, and oh, no, they're not actually real. But then I said, they're better than real almost. They're so good. They weave very well into because they have a combination of plants that are growing and then those that are, maybe they need to have them in permanent display. That was interesting. But I had a very nice time there, relaxing, and also they have some animals and stuff like that. But it's more like a place where you would go. But there was one place which I didn't get to, and I'm very, very disappointed. I think it's called the Begonia Cafe. Do you know the place, Dylan? It's called the Bird Cafe or something. Yeah, or something like that. It's a lovely cafe, and and it's quite near here, but I didn't get to see it.
The fish tanks and the campfires.
What's that?
There's one with
Yes,
fish tanks.
exactly. Yes, that's the one. I missed it, and it was raining, and I could have gone there. Now, go ahead. No, this is again a little bit over and back. This is our visit to some pilgrimage places. We went on some pilgrimages. This was after the opening of the ceremony of the Chonwon-gong. It was after all that, but then we had some pilgrimage, and one of them was to this place here called the Old Church. They call it Chongpadong Church, and the Chongpadong Church is one of the earliest churches we have, and we've kept it, and it's kept in the same state that it was when we used it, or when True Parents used it, or the True Family. So I just had that picture there. I don't say that I have such a spiritual experience in these places. And maybe I have to go there when it's quieter, but I did have, that feeling. And I had some very good conversation with somebody while I was there. Because inside this, there's a place where Father prayed, and many members like to touch, and I touched the ground there myself just to feel the spirituality. The thing about Chongpadong is it's kept in the state that it was. They didn't upgrade it. They didn't make it anything new. And one time, Father even said, keep it. People said, well, we want to change it. We want to upgrade it. And Father said, no, don't do that. This is the place where I had the most deepest prayers. If you don't value that humble place, you can't value anything in our tradition. Father was scolding. I remember reading about that. He scolded people when they were saying, "Oh, old places. What do we do with old places like this?" They wanted to change something, but Father never let them change this place. And Mother didn't change this place either. Let's go on. Next one. This is a picture. This is the next place we visited. I'm trying to think, was it on the same day? Hanandong. Hanandong, was it the same day? Colin was there, of course. What did you say, walked? No, we did not walk from there. No, it's a different, it's farther, and it doesn't matter. We went to Hanandong, and there's the river the Han River, overlooking the Han River. And that's myself there. Next picture, I think Colin was there. There's our brother Colin and myself. And we were overlooking the Han River. And then we went in, look at handsome Colin there, and myself with my baldy head. Yes, my holy head. Anyway, go on to the next picture. Okay, I wanted to show you the two chairs. The reason I want to show you the two chairs is in Hanandong, they keep it with the two chairs. And I asked the Reverend there, why do we keep it two chairs? And why now everywhere else is one chair because of Mother? And he just said, they keep it the way that it was when the two parents were living there. So they keep the same thing, the same ambience. The only thing about Hanandong is it's very beautiful. It's restored. It's not the same. I understand, maybe I'm wrong about that, but that it was restored, not restored, but renovated or upgraded since Mother in not so long ago, maybe within the years. And Hanandong is if you may have heard of it or you'll read about it sometimes in Father's memoirs. And Hanandong was a place where they stayed between 1983 to 2006. So it's about 23 years. This place in Korea was the place where they received special guests. And among those was Pele. There was Gorbachev and his wife were received there. So it's a very, I feel it's such a beautiful place, Hanamdong, although we don't hear so much about it, because Father was, at that time in the Providence, he was traveling so much to America, he was going around the world, to parents were, but they did come back to this Hanamdong, and there are rooms there where they show you, this is Hyojinim's room, or they preserve that. I think you can actually stay there overnight for some special occasions. I don't know what you do, give an offering or a donation. One thing he did also, the Reverend that was there, he was explaining about the house had such special energy, and he was like a dragon. It has the head of the dragon, and you need to have a strong spiritual energy, and nobody else could live in this house until two parents came there. So this is the Oriental way of understanding that places have spiritual energy, and this is the energy is very strong in this part of the city overlooking the Han and this particular house. Let's go on to the next picture. Now we went on another pilgrimage and we went to the Soderman prison. This was another day, the Soderman prison. Soderman prison is where, from reading Father's autobiography, Father was sent to prison there in 1950, I think 5 or something like that. My dates should be more accurate, but he was there for 3 months. But I used to think that, oh, okay, father was in prison. And we had a brother there explaining to us, he's an English brother living in Korea, and he was explaining to us about the Solomon prison and about father going there. And I was expecting then to see maybe there's a picture of father in this prison, but I found out the whole history of Solomon prison is an incredible history. It's so many people went through that prison over the years, over 100 years. So many patriots, and there's so much history there, that a very sad history, to be honest. It really makes you feel, Korea really suffered. And this is a picture I took with this is the sister June and her friend. I think she's a pastor friend. June was one of the original pioneers of Ireland, June Perrin. And so I was useful to June for a little while there, because she said, John, will you come around with me? And so we kind of she held my hand so we could, because she was very tired. But she said to me, John, I've been to Korea many times, and I said that I wouldn't come this time, but she always ends up going back, So June is one of our very faithful sisters, and she's involved with the BCLC, the ministers in England, and it was the first time I really made some connection with her, to be honest. But I have seen her before. But going to the next one, please. Then there was a pilgrimage on another pilgrimage area. We went to the DMZ, and this is the Bell of Freedom in the background there. And it's one, like, if you think about the DMZ it stretches, I don't know how many miles, but it's very long. So you can approach it from any different vantage points. But we went to this place where the Bell of Freedom is. Next, please. Next one. And now there's they keep certain things from the war, and this is a train that had been involved in the war between North and South Korea, or at that period. So they keep the actual train that has all these bullets in it. So that's the kind of, it brings you back to the time of the war. Let's move on. And I just had a photo there. You go in there and you can take photos. Now in the background over there is North Korea. You have to cross over the water. So I couldn't really figure out where North Korea began, and from one point, but that was what we were told. We didn't have a guide to show us around or tell us exactly, but that was one of the things. Carry on to the next one. This is a bridge where after the war, soldiers. This bridge was used for bringing back soldiers had been captured in the north or in the south. There was some kind of exchange of prisoners on this bridge. And we were fortunate with one other brother to be listening to somebody explaining about this very important bridge, because there was a group of people from Europe, and there was somebody explaining about that. But this is all part of the history of the relationship and the war between the north and the south. Let's go on to the next one. Okay, I haven't so many photos, but this is coming to the Chunwon-gong. So my experience of the Chunwon-gong on the actual opening day itself was quite a bit traumatic, to be honest, because I got the sash, the orange sash, which meant I could be at least on the grounds, But unfortunately, that morning, and this has happened to me before on other occasions, I was on the bus, and I left my bag on the thing, and I was carrying something else, and I left it on the bus. Couldn't believe it. I walked in. I was going up, to follow the Europeans who were into the Chunwon-gong. I didn't know where exactly if we were going to get in there or not, but I think I understood that we would be outside. The day happened to be extremely volatile. It was like very cold, rain and sleet, and sometimes the sun came through. But that day was really a special day. That's that morning. I went back looking for my bag, but I asked some young people, and they said no, we don't, the bus is gone. You can't, nothing we do for you now. But they were very helpful. The young people there were very helpful. They said, well, we'll try and do something for you. But, you know, in my bag was my passport and my wallet and my coat and da. And I had to put that at the back of my mind and still join in. So I went back to join in with the opening ceremony. And the thing was, I didn't know even what had happened. So I was outside under the tents. There was these tents here. And I don't know how many people, I don't know how much, but I was out in the tents anyway. And the rain and the sleet and the cold. And I was surrounded by Koreans. And like the only thing I can say about it, it's a memorable, if you go through something like that, you'll never forget the actual experience because it's the memory of the cold day. It was freezing, and we just had this beautiful garment. You know, we had certain, we all had these special gowns, and they were quite heavy, but they were not warm. And anyway, and then the staff were going around giving out blankets, and so we got one blanket first, and then we got a second one, and you know, to cover up against the rain and the cold. But so all my feeling was I was involved in a very historical moment, and I was there. I experienced the opening of the Chunmungung. It's like a historical moment. I think that's the main thing for me is like you were there, you experienced it. You can tell your ancestors can be proud of that, or your descendants in the future, you know. But the actual experience itself was tough, you know, in that sense. And especially when I was thinking about the blooming thing in the background of my head, how am I going to get this back? But it's interesting. You have to park these things when in these moments. Anyway, what's the next one? And yeah, there again, it's just showing you the temple and the tents. I want to show you the tents because some people say, "Oh, I got inside. It's because it's raining. We were allowed to come inside." And some people were fortunate to be allowed to go inside, and but there was an awful lot others didn't go inside, so they stayed outside. But then the majority of people were actually in the Peace World Centre, isn't that right, Colin? The majority of people were actually there, so nice and warm, and everybody had a good experience, I'm sure. The drums were very powerful in the opening ceremony. I must say that I was very impressed by the powerful drums and Mother's beauty and regal bearing. I was very impressed by that. You know. Next thing is one. There we go. That was Mother's how she looked on the day in her beautiful gown. Would you call that a gown or a special garment or something? Gown is good enough, but I think it was a bit heavy even for Mother. Huh? A handbook, but especially probably for the day itself, wasn't it? Yeah. Next page. I think that's the end of my pictures. But yeah, we've already seen that because of Damien Dunkley was expressing that, and yes, huh? Oh, that's the last one. Well, I just want to say a little bit more about the Chunmungung and the whole experience, I suppose. And another thing that was coming to me recently is, you know, Pope Francis. Pope Francis died just recently. Pope Francis was actually inaugurated just after Foundation Day in 2013, and now he's just passed away just after the opening of Chunmungung. And I wondered, it had a kind of a meaning, you know, because he was there right at the beginning and then right at the end. So maybe it's a time of transition as a new Pope inaugurated. And this maybe God is expecting something more from the Christian world. Although Pope Francis had contributed something because at one point there was a delegation from the UPF went in. Was it in the Vatican? They met Pope? Yeah. So yeah. So in that sense, things can be coincidence or providential in a way. So we want to see how God is working now from this point onwards, and will the new Pope, have a mission to play to come closer to True Mother? I had some very interesting conversations with people over there about that. One brother, Robert Williamson, for example, he's been a missionary to Zambia, and he was explaining how difficult it was to make the foundation in those 7 years between 2013 and 2020. You know how Mother had to, we don't know how hard it was to restore 7 nations and 7 spiritual groups, but he was able to explain a lot about the background because he was working in Africa, and he was telling me about those backgrounds. He said, for one thing, that Mother is like, she has found people that she considers like her children, you know, that her son, but at the same time, the full reconciliation hasn't happened. You know, that even people like Bishop Nandango or Prophet Hadiba as religious leaders, they still haven't really submitted to true parents, to true mother, you know. Anyway, that's what he said. That's what his experience is, that they still kind of going on a parallel with true parents, with true mother, because they have their tremendous foundation. But like always in the history, it's not easy to make the complete surrender in the Cain-Abel situation, Cain-Abel relationship. So this was his experience, and this was what he was explaining to me about. So that is something we have to think about, that we're all continuing this path. You know, we're looking for people who really understand the providence, who really understand the value of true parents, or the value of true mother as the only begotten daughter, substantial Holy Spirit, Holy Mother Han. I mean, it's very difficult for us all to really, you know, to really internalize this, and then to act with confidence to the rest of humanity, to explain it to others, spiritually or physically, substantially. But I think in one sense, it does transcend an intellectual understanding or a theological understanding. I heard from our brother Matthew Hewish just during the week, and he was saying that for him, the theology is not enough for him. He said it's to do with the relationship. You know, it's your relationship with somebody. Like he himself said, I have difficulties in relating to true mother. Really difficulties, he said. At one point when father had passed away, and several years later, I think his father had gone from true mother, but he himself felt, I want to join this other group or something, you know. But then he had an experience, he said, when he was in Korea in I think it was 2015, and he realized true mother is my mother. He had a spiritual experience like that. Thus, he could commit himself in a different way, and thus he can have a new relationship. So I think for all of us, you know, if we have problems with theology or anything like, or knowledge or things, maybe it's the relationships we need to work on and improve, you know. And we don't have that relationship maybe with true mother, because how can we get really closer? But spiritually, we can, through prayer and so forth, and through the, you know, in the reading it says there at the beginning, we were talking about the association of the spiritual world and physical world. Father declared that in 2012, that there would become a time when the spiritual world and physical world will work together. That's the time we are coming to. So that's what we need to feel that. That's the whole point of even the prayer vigils and all of that. Spiritual world and the physical world is coming together. But it's up to each one of us to take time to develop that spiritual sensitivity or resonance with heavenly parents and true mother. I met so many other good people there, but that's about what I really wanted to say about today. Again, I wish that I could say, well, I had a tremendous prayer in the Chunun Sanctum. I didn't. I had a prayer, but it doesn't. My deepest prayer was actually when I attended a Chanyang session. That is the truth of it. I attended one of the Chanyang sessions, and I had the most kind of profound experience of that. Maybe because there was such a powerful spirit there, and I could repent more deeply and so forth. So that's why I wanted to say that you really need to spend time in that environment to gain something much more meaningful for our daily lives as well. Let's conclude with a prayer. Beloved Heavenly Parents, thank you so much this morning that we gathered together to share our hearts together. We're really all of us trying to relate to you more deeply as your children. And we're trying to really figure out the providence today and how it affects us and how you're moving in the world and how we ourselves can conduct ourselves and find also righteous people in our own lives who can connect with you and can feel your heart and can relate to our true parents as who they are, both father and mother, and our beloved true parents. Please guide us all the time to really resolve any issues we have in ourselves, whether they're theological or otherwise, or barriers within our hearts. We always knew in the past that the way we were brought up was often an indicator of how you can relate to your parents, even how I was brought up in my family and how I viewed my father and mother was often an indication of how close you can come to true father or true mother. So that some people already have that in their background, so they're spiritually able to relate very closely to true parents. Other people have to go through a lot of spiritual searching and their own course. Some kind of indemnity is needed often to break through the barriers. Heavenly Parents, please be with all our brothers and sisters. We're all your very precious brothers and sisters in that time. And we met so many wonderful brothers and sisters while we were in Korea, all kinds of generations, all generations. And we really want to really feel that we are truly one family under our Heavenly Parents. We're trying to create this family that transcends religion, nationalities, and all kinds of differences. We're working on that so much. It's not easy to really create such a beautiful family under Heavenly Parents, and then to introduce others to that as well. We thank you so much today for your grace and your love. And I want to report this in attendance to Holy Mother Hannah in my name, John Kennedy of a Blessed Family. Adieu.